It's Friday, 2 p.m. here in Seoul, and these are the stories making headlines this afternoon. Thursday, August 15th, marked Korea's 79th National Liberation Day. In his speech commemorating the day, South Korean President Yoon laid out his vision for unifying the two Koreas. We take a closer look at what was announced. Some positive news for the domestic economy. South Korea's finance ministry says the economy has shown steady improvement for the fourth month in a row. What's fueling this recovery momentum? This year's relentless summer heat is breaking records. Major cities across Korea are seeing their longest streak of tropical nights since records began. What's causing this extreme weather, and when can we expect some relief? Thank you for joining us on the Daily Report this Friday, August 16th. I'm Song Yujin, filling in for Min Sun-hee. We start with Thursday's celebration of the 79th National Liberation Day of Korea. 79 years ago, on August 15, 1945, Korea was freed from Imperial Japan, marking an end to its 35-year colonial rule. During a commemoration ceremony on Thursday, President Yoon laid out a blueprint for the unification of South and North Korea by expanding the freedom of those in the North. Our senior presidential office correspondent Oh Soo-young starts us off.
President Yoon has proposed reopening dialogue between South and North Korea as he laid out a new doctrine for unification based on freedom and democracy. This came on Thursday as Yoon made a speech to mark 79 years since Koreans gained liberation when Imperial Japan surrendered to Allied countries, bringing an end to World War II. Addressing not only 51 million South Koreans, but also 26 million Koreans in the North, Yoon envisioned a unified Republic of Korea, deeming unification as the ultimate stage of liberation.
자유가 박탈된 동토의 왕국, 빈곤과 기아로 고통받는 북녘 땅으로 우리가 누리는 자유가 확장되어야 합니다. 한반도 전체 국민이 주인인 자유민주 통일 국가가 만들어지는 그날 비로소 완전한 광복이 실현되는 것입니다.
Yoon declared his three-point vision based on a free and democratic order under the South Korean constitution.
국민의 자유와 안전이 보장되는 행복한 나라, 창의와 혁신으로 도약하는 강하고 풍요로운 나라, 국제사회의 화합과 발전을 선도하며 세계 평화와 번영에 기여하는 나라, 이것이 바로 통일 대한민국의 미래입니다.
Bridging the economic, social and cultural divide between the South and North since the Korean War, Yoon stressed the need to reinforce values and capacity to pursue unification. In doing so, the president set out 7 action plans, beginning with engaging South Korean citizens, particularly young people, with educational programs on unification amid waning public interest and support for unification in recent years. The administration aims to inspire North Koreans to desire unification, focusing on their freedom and individual rights. Seoul will ramp up efforts to improve North Koreans' human rights situation by working with domestic and international bodies and by creating a special fund to promote the cause. The South also plans to expand the variety of information that reach North Korean residents to help them learn about the outside world. Humanitarian aid is another area of focus to ensure North Korean survival from natural disasters and calamities and to support vulnerable social groups. Yoon once again highlighted the role of North Korean defectors in facilitating unification based on their own experiences and integration into a free society. Most significantly, Yoon proposed a new dialogue channel between the two Koreas. The working group would cover any and all issues not limited to people-to-people exchanges, economic cooperation, disaster relief and humanitarian aid, on top of denuclearization and military affairs. However, Seoul and Pyongyang's ties have worsened in recent years as North Korea continues to pose a nuclear threat to the region and has cut off official communication channels with the South.
Humanitarian aid to North Korea and the Inter-Korean Dialogue body require a response from the North Korean authorities. We will wait for that response. Even if it does not come immediately, we can plan and pursue the remaining 5 unification action plans independently. Unification is a task that requires patience and sustained effort, even if it takes time.
Imagining a unified South and North that contributes to global peace and prosperity, the Yoon administration says it will engage the international community in dialogue and gain support as it works towards a unified Republic of Korea. Arirang News.
Turning to the economy, South Korea's finance ministry says the country's economic recovery is gaining momentum, driven by growing domestic and international demand, as well as easing inflation. Our economics correspondent Moon Hae-ryun breaks down the numbers.
South Korea's economy is continuing its recovery momentum due to robust exports and stabilizing prices. That's according to the latest Economic Green Book, a monthly assessment report released by the Ministry of Economy and Finance on Friday. The ministry's description of the country's economy stated that there was moderate recovery in domestic demand centered around facility investments with booming exports and production. July saw export growth of 13.9% compared to the same month the year before on the back of a recovery in South Korea's tech industry. Outbound shipments of chips increased by 50% on year, while exports of wireless communication devices and computers jumped by 54% and 62% respectively. Exports performed well generally, with 11 out of the country's 15 key export sectors seeing a rise. With the semiconductor boom, South Korea's trade balance in June posted its largest surplus in nearly 7 years, with the goods account marking 15 months of continuous growth. Consumer sentiment in July also showed an improvement, with the Consumer Sentiment Index rising nearly 3 points compared to June.
The CSI reached 103.6 points, which is the highest recorded since April 2020. We are perceiving this as a positive sign for consumer sentiment.
The year-on-year increase for consumer prices recorded in July was in the 2% range at 2.6%, with prices of vegetables affected by heavy rain as well as high global crude oil prices driving prices up. Retail sales, a key gauge of private spending, rose 1% on month in June. Facility investment saw on-month growth in June after seeing slow progress throughout the first half of the year. The Finance Ministry said it would work to stabilize people's livelihoods in the second half of the year and reinforce domestic demand. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
And staying with the economy, major U.S. stock indexes edged higher on Thursday after strong consumer and retail data boosted investor confidence. The Dow Jones on Thursday local time closed up 1.39%, and the S&P 500 rose 1.61%, marking its sixth straight gain. The tech-heavy Nasdaq also surged 2.34%. The Consumer Price Index released by the Labor Department the day before showed that prices rose 2.9% compared to the previous year in July, the lowest since March 2021. And retail sales released on Thursday unexpectedly rose a solid 1% on month in July, helping ease recession concerns. Shifting our focus to the Middle East, negotiations have resumed to try to broker a ceasefire in Gaza to prevent fighting from escalating into a region-wide conflict. But Hamas was absent from the meeting as the United States, Qatar, Egypt, and Israel met in Doha. Ian Jin reports.
Amid growing concerns over the conflict in the Middle East escalating, mediators from the U.S., Qatar, and Egypt met with an Israeli delegation in Doha on Thursday afternoon to open a new round of negotiations to broker a ceasefire in the war in Gaza. While Hamas officials are not participating in the talks, mediators will be consulting with the group's Doha-based negotiating team after the second day of discussions on Friday as they seek to reach an agreement. White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby said that while there was a promising start to the new round of talks, there remains a lot of work to do, adding that the remaining obstacles can be overcome. The renewed push for talks comes at a vital time following the recent back-to-back assassinations at the end of July of Hezbollah's top commander and Hamas's political chief, which had led both the Lebanese group and Iran to blame Israel and threaten revenge that has fed fears of a wider regional escalation. While Hamas and Israel had, in principle, come to an agreement to implement a three-phase plan previously proposed by U.S. President Joe Biden, both sides have since requested amendments and clarifications. Large gaps remain between the two sides, including regarding control of land along the Gaza-Egypt border, the release of hostages, and the return of displaced Palestinian civilians to northern Gaza. Meanwhile, as talks were underway in Doha, ground operations continued in Gaza's southern city of Khan Yunis. The Gaza Health Ministry said Thursday that Israeli airstrikes had killed 40 people in the Strip in the previous 24 hours, pushing the Palestinian death toll to over 40,000 since the war broke out in October last year. Over 92,000 others have been injured. Yoon, Arirang News.
Over in Russia, Ukraine continued its incursion into the Kursk region for the 10th day, with both sides engaging in fierce clashes. While Russia claims that they have recaptured some of the villages taken over by Ukraine, Ukraine says otherwise, saying they're continuing to advance into Russia. Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
As Ukraine's offensive in Russia's Kursk region moved into its 10th day on Thursday, Russia says it has taken back some of the villages initially captured by the Ukrainian military. However, Kyiv says its military has been continuing to advance further into the region, adding that a military command and control center was even set up in Kursk. Ukraine's top military commander also added that the troops had advanced up to 1.5 kilometers over the previous 24 hours and has seized 82 villages and 1,150 square kilometers of territory so far. Meanwhile, Russia has declared a state of emergency in the border region of Belgorod following attacks by Ukrainian forces. The decision comes as Ukraine has conducted daily attacks in Belgorod and nearby regions. Meanwhile, according to the Wall Street Journal on Thursday, Ukraine was behind the Nord Stream pipeline explosion in 2022. The report says that a small crew of 6 Ukrainian soldiers and divers were behind the sabotage. The report further alleges that the operation was planned out during a drunken night in May 2022 and was initially approved by Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. However, after the CIA found out about the plan, Kyiv was told to stop. Despite that call, then Ukraine's Armed Forces Commander-in-Chief went ahead with the operation. Ukraine has denied the report by the Wall Street Journal and instead continued to insist that Russia was behind the sabotage, adding that only Moscow can carry it out with such extensive technical and financial resources. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now back here in Korea, the sweltering summer heat continues, with major cities experiencing their longest streak of tropical nights on record. Our Lee Soo-jin explains what's behind this intense weather and how long it's expected to last.
South Korea is battling one of its longest heat waves, with Seoul expected to soon surpass the current record for longest period of consecutive tropical nights. According to the Korean Meteorological Administration, Seoul has endured a total of 26 back-to-back tropical nights as of Friday, matching the record for the longest stretch of tropical nights in Seoul's history, which was set in 2018 when South Korea went through one of its worst heat waves. A tropical night is when temperatures stay at a minimum of 25 degrees Celsius between 6 p.m. and 9 a.m. the next day. As the minimum temperature in Seoul is expected to remain above 25 degrees Celsius throughout this weekend, the record for the longest streak is likely to be broken. This comes one day after the KMA announced on Thursday that Busan, a port city in the southeastern tip of Korea, saw tropical nights for 21 days in a row, matching the record seen in 1994 and 2018. And as of Friday, with 22 consecutive tropical nights, Busan has now officially recorded its longest ever streak of tropical nights. The KMA on Friday forecasts that the maximum temperature will feel as high as 35 degrees Celsius in most parts of the country, and the tropical nights are particularly likely in the western regions and along the southeast coast. The persisting sweltering conditions are rather unusual because the summer heat in South Korea typically tends to wane after mid-August. One meteorologist from the weather agency said that the humid air from the North Pacific's strong high-pressure system, combined with high daytime temperatures, have prevented temperatures from dropping even during the night, leading to sustained tropical nights. While rain is in the forecast for next week, the heat wave is expected to continue, and the KMA says the intense heat of tropical nights could continue until the end of this month. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
On the cultural front, we have a story about an inspiring group of senior singers from Korea who are proving to the world that age is just a number. Last month, they won the highest honor at the World Choir Games, one of the most prestigious choir competitions in the world. And I had the chance to meet with them. The words gray and youth might not typically go together, but the Gray Youth Choir of Korea goes against those expectations. The choir of 55 members with an average age of 68 ranges from people in their 50s to late 80s. Among them are Korea's first harpist, a former news anchor, and even a 3-star general, all starting a new chapter of life with the choir. Some might remember the choir from the hit Korean reality show Qualifications of Men, where its members were chosen through a nationwide audition as part of the show's choir project back in 2011. This year, the Gray Youth Choir won the top award in the mixed senior choir category of the open competition at the World Choir Games, often called the Choir Olympics.
When we first started, we had one clear goal: to become the best senior choir in the world. We wanted to show not just the power of K-culture, but the strength of K-seniors. It took us 13 years to prepare for that 13-minute performance on the World Choir Games stage, but our patience paid off.
This victory didn't happen overnight. It's the result of more than a decade of hard work with performances at home and abroad, including the United Nations headquarters, Carnegie Hall, and Australia's International Choir Festival, Graz. But their journey wasn't always smooth.
In the beginning, we trained for 3 months and entered our first choir competition, and that's how it all started. Back then, we were just a group of grandmas and grandpas, clueless about choir music, but determined to learn.
They overcame such hardships through the dedication of the members and their conductor. Remarkably, the choir practices and rehearses just once a week for 3 hours every Tuesday afternoon.
Our practice sessions have a 95% attendance rate, and if you miss 12 sessions a year, you're out of the choir. Our greatest strength is the dedication of our members.
Rehearsal is about coming together to harmonize, so individual practice is crucial. My focus has always been on motivating each person to practice at home, so that our limited rehearsal time is as effective as possible.
The Gray Youth Choir's journey is far from over. They're planning a tour of 16 countries that participated in the Korean War and will continue singing with all their heart and passion towards an ultimate goal.
Our dream is to perform at Pyongyang Grand Theatre, uniting North and South Korea in song. It may seem like a distant hope now, but we believe that one day our choir will be part of history, marking the beginning of peace and unification on the Korean peninsula.
The Gray Youth Choir's journey is a story of vision, dedication, and the belief that age is no barrier to greatness.
When people hear us sing, they often ask, how can these seniors with an average age of 70 sing like a choir of 30-year-olds? Our message is simple: you too can remain young at heart.
True to their motto, active senior, as always, these active seniors and singers will continue to inspire the world, proving that anyone at any age can make their dreams come true.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. Sweden confirmed its first case of a more contagious and dangerous variant of the viral infectious disease mpox or monkeypox outside of Africa on Thursday, a day after the WHO declared the disease a global public health emergency for the second time in 2 years. Sweden's Health and Social Affairs Minister confirmed one case of the more grave type of mpox called Clade 1, while the Director General of the country's public health agency said the person was infected while staying in a part of Africa where there is a large outbreak of the disease. WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus declared the upsurge of mpox in the Democratic Republic of Congo and neighboring African countries a public health emergency of international concern under the international health regulations on Wednesday. Tedros said the emergence of a new variant, Clade 1b, which is predominantly sexually transmitted, is very worrying, and that a coordinated international response is required. Mpox casualties in the DRC have significantly increased this year, already exceeding last year's tally, with more than 15,600 cases and 537 deaths reported so far. Several outbreaks of different clades of mpox in African countries are making measuring the spread of the infectious disease difficult. The WHO has released $1.45 million from its contingency fund, but said $15 million are required for the initial response. Thailand's governing coalition, the Pheu Thai Party, on Thursday named Paetongtarn Shinawatra, the daughter of billionaire ex-PM Thaksin Shinawatra, as its candidate to become the new prime minister, a day after the Constitutional Court sacked Sretha Thavisin from the position. Thai lawmakers will vote on Friday on whether to approve Paetongtarn as the new prime minister. 37-year-old Paetongtarn, the current leader of the Pheu Thai Party, began a political career in 2022 and in 2023 was officially nominated as one of the party's 3 prime minister candidates. She is the youngest daughter of political heavyweight Thaksin Shinawatra and a niece of Yingluck Shinawatra, themselves both former prime ministers. If successful, Paetongtarn will become the country's 2nd female prime minister. 5 people, including 2 doctors, were charged in Los Angeles on Thursday in connection to last year's drug-related death of Friends actor Matthew Perry. The 5 defendants, including Perry's personal assistant and a woman known in LA as the Ketamine Queen, have been charged with providing the Friends star with large quantities of the powerful sedative ketamine. U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada said that the defendants were part of a broad underground criminal network that distributed the drug to high-profile clients, while a DEA administrator claimed that each defendant took part in falsely prescribing, selling, or injecting ketamine to Matthew Perry. Police have arrested 2 people so far, 42-year-old Dr. Salvador Plasencia, based in Santa Monica, and 41-year-old Yasvin Sangha, based in North Hollywood. Actor Matthew Perry died at age 54 from acute effects of ketamine, drowning in his hot tub after losing consciousness from the drug last October. Catalan police arrested 3 people on Wednesday and detained a 4th suspect on Thursday after the father of 17-year-old Spanish football star Lamine Yamal was stabbed multiple times in the northeastern Spanish town of Mataró late on Wednesday. According to Spanish national broadcaster TVE, Munir Nasralloui was taken to a hospital in Barcelona and is in a serious but stable condition. He was reportedly attacked by a group of people he had spoken to earlier in the day, close to the area where Yamal grew up. Yamal is Spain's youngest ever national team player and won the Euros this year, where he was also named Young Player of the tournament. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Seoul and Busan woke up to the longest run of consecutive tropical nights today since modern weather observation began back in 1907. As for Seoul, it has been 26 nights in a row, and it is very likely I will be back on Monday with new records for Seoul. Meanwhile, East Coast regions, including Ulsan, Gangneung, could get some heat relief with a heat advisory being lifted due to the typhoons that are heading towards Japan. And we are looking at a chance of sudden downpours today, while Jeju Island will see rain of up to 80 millimeters into Saturday. So those near the water need to stay safe. Seoul and Daejeon should get up to 34 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Skies will be blazing sunny until that showers pass by. The extreme heat wave refuses to let up anytime soon, even at night, despite heading into mid-August. Take it easy and take good care of yourself. We've got a few more weeks with the intense heat. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
And that wraps up this Friday's edition of the Daily Report. Thank you for watching, but stay tuned for our in-depth panel discussion, Issues and Insiders, coming up next.